The recent re-election of Donald Trump, who will resume the office of President of the United States in January, has certainly put the proverbial cat amongst the pigeons. While most of the newsprint ink has been spilt on what his intentions and potential policies might mean internally for the US, a lot of attention has been focused on what impact he may have on the international scene. In particular, what he may do, or not, about Ukraine, the Middle East, and the Mexican drug cartels. And for some in Burma, otherwise known as Myanmar, there is even the hope that the Americans may start paying their struggles some attention. While it is fashionable in certain parts of the internet to blame everything that occurs on the international scene on the perfidious United States and the CIA, in Myanmar, many of the groups fighting the military junta that took outright power in a coup in 2021 have regularly expressed the heartfelt wish that they actually would get some military support from the Americans, either covert or overt. And because appeals from the various resistance groups have often in the past been based on humanitarian reasoning for requesting help in bringing down the junta, which basically have fallen on deaf ears, now more practical considerations are being pushed. Take, for example, this message on X from the Kachin National Organization. Kachin State in the north of the country does indeed hold large quantities, possibly the biggest in the world, of rare earth minerals, critical for the manufacture of electronic products and, as the tweet points out, electric vehicles. As the message is also directed at Elon Musk, who is currently working closely with Trump in the run-up to the new administration, well, we can see that appeals to monetary gain is the proposed motivation. Plus, look at what is being requested in exchange to rights to mine these locations. Surface-to-air missiles. That is something desperately needed by the resistance forces and would have a huge impact upon the fighting in Myanmar. Currently, air and artillery are still the primary advantage enjoyed by junta forces, and being able to stop these would greatly improve security in the country. Because unfortunately, the junta air force tends to be rather indiscriminate, generally striking civilian targets. To give just a single example, on the 17th of November, an airstrike on a church housing refugees in Kachin killed 9 children and a woman. Just one such example where such events are literally occurring on a daily basis all across the country. Now let's be honest, the proposal from the KNO cannot be taken too seriously because the United States has zero reach in this region, which is firmly in China's backyard. But in fact, the supply of rare earth is likely to become problematic. On paper, China controls something like 90% of the global supply in this commodity. But in reality, much of this comes from neighbouring Burma, specifically from across the border in Kachin State. The Kachin Independence Army, the KIA, has been making substantial gains in Kachin State and has recently captured several mines and border crossing points with China from the junta. On the 14th of November, the KIA closed the crossings it controls and halted the export of rare earth to China, a move apparently in response to Chinese pressure being exerted on the various ethnic armed organizations, the EAOs, that China has dealings with in Myanmar. The Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, has been attempted to rein in several of these groups, who since October 2023 have been remarkably successful in their campaigns against the junta. After trying to push several ceasefires, all of which fell apart, the Chinese are getting more proactive in their methods. On top of closing the border crossings to put pressure on the Kachin, the move that caused the KIA retaliation in response, the Chinese have reportedly taken action against the leader of one of the most successful of the EAOs fighting against the junta. According to reports, Peng Dashun, head of the Myanmar National Democratic Alliance Army, the MNDAA, is currently under house arrest in China, with sources alleging that he was invited there by the Chinese under the pretext of conducting further talks. The purpose of these talks was the MNDAA giving up control of the important town of Lashio and restoring it back to the junta, and when Peng refused, he was placed under arrest. If this is true, then this is the culmination of a rising series of tensions over the last few months between the MNDAA and their sponsors in the CCP, something I have covered in the past. It's important to note the Chinese do deny this and have released statements in response to the allegations that Peng is in fact receiving medical treatment in China. Whatever the truth of the matter, the reaction on social media over the situation has further spiked anti-Chinese feeling in the resistance forces, a theme that is becoming increasingly common. This further isn't helped by actual official actions being undertaken by the Chinese Communist Party. Though they deny the allegations over detaining the leader of the MNDAA, there has just been official talks between the Myanmar junta and the CCP leadership this month, looking at stabilising the junta's control of the country. China has just recently, in fact, proposed the setting up of a joint security company to protect its extensive interests in Myanmar, a move that, quite honestly, probably just provides justification for the deployment of Chinese military personnel in Burma, though unofficially. Though the junta has been on occasion quite vitriolic in its relationship with the superpower next door, it seems entirely possible that as their grip on power slowly slips as resistance forces take more and more territory from them, then the generals might be willing to end up as puppet rulers, and Myanmar truly becoming a client state to the Chinese Communist Party, as are some other countries in Southeast Asia already. Should that occur, then China will finally be able to establish a solid presence in the Bay of Bengal, a situation that will no doubt prove unwelcome to both India and the United States. And preventing that scenario, it seems, is the Myanmar resistance best hope for getting aid of their own from outside powers.